All right, welcome guys to our next history lesson. Looks like there's a few of you guys already here. Glad you guys are excited to get going. How are you all doing? I'm doing really good. You guys had a good week? Things been going well, getting caught up with all of your subjects, right? So let's get started. If you have your PDF book, you can pull it up online, and then it will also be on the screen. Hey, Kaden. Hey, Alia. I'm glad to have you guys all here. But you can also follow along right here on screen with me, all right? And just a reminder that we need to try to stay focused as we go through this lesson. This lesson won't be too long. It'll be about 15-20 minutes, so we can all stay focused and be participating for that time. Speaking of participation, the top right corner of the screen shows you the chat commands. Those are things that you can type in the chat to help remind you what the questions are, what the big question is, or what the vocabulary is for this chapter. So a little refresher, we talked about the Tang Dynasty last time on Wednesday, and those that are here, hey Chloe, glad to have you here. If you guys can talk about some of the things that you learned from the Tang Dynasty. Remember, we learned that it was kind of a golden era during the Chinese history. So what are some things that were invented during that time? Think to yourself and put that in the chat. And those that are watching the replay, think to yourself and say it out loud or tell someone some of the things that were invented during that time. This will also help those that have done the big question for chapter 4 should know. I don't know why that was retracted. Maybe you retracted that. But those that need help with the big question, we can talk about that, all right? So woodblock printing was invented during the Tang Dynasty. That's how they were able to make books, and they were able to print around 1,000 pages a day with this woodblock printing. We also learned that they discovered gunpowder during the Tang Dynasty. The alchemists, these scientists who tried to turn different metals into gold, experimented with these few different chemicals and resulted in gunpowder. But they didn't use gunpowder for warfare or for guns or weaponry. They used the gunpowder for making fireworks. Hey, Naili, I'm not for sure how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. If you could give me a pronunciation guide, I could use that. I'm not very good at pronouncing names, as you will see as we continue to read through the Dynasties of China. I struggle with pronouncing names, so it's not just your name; it's a lot of names. So, and then they also invented money paper. Right? They called it flying money. It was also invented during the Tang Dynasty. So those are some of the things that will help you with your big question. It's fine, thanks. I'm glad that you forgive me. That means a lot. All right, so let's jump into the big question. All right, so right here, it is on the page, but you can also type it in the chat, ! The big question, all one word. So put it all together, and that will bring up the big question in the chat. There are 6 questions that I will ask you today. Close, Caden. For the hint, you put ! at the beginning. So ! hint 1 for our first question. Like I said, there's going to be 6 questions today, and those that are live, it would be really helpful and really awesome if you can participate and answer those questions in the chat. If you need help with the questions, that's perfect, Caden. That's how you do it. You can type in those chat commands. Again, look at the top right corner of my screen, and those will give you the chat commands. We'll go from question 1 to question 6. All right, so 6 questions, and let's dive in. Whoops, I don't want that up. I'm trying to pull up my notes. Okay, so the primary focuses for today we're going to learn the conflict between Emperor Wei Zhong interest in his responsibilities. We're going to identify characteristics of Chinese art during the Sung dynasty. We'll be able to summarize the events that led to the division of China into northern and southern sections. We'll also summarize the fall of the Emperor Huizong, and then we'll understand the meaning of our core vocabulary. And something that I haven't done in the past, but that I think would be really helpful for us and for you to learn these core vocabulary. As we start to cover these core vocabulary words, please type in the chat, those that are live and those that are watching the replay, please type a sentence using one of the core vocabulary words, all right? Okay, awesome. Your name is Adriana. Well, that's perfect. That is a lot easier, or Adriana, a lot easier to pronounce. Hey, Scotland's here. It's awesome. Okay, so those are our primary focus objectives, all right? So let's call attention to our big question and read this with me, all right? What is the big question? It is, how did Emperor Wei Zhong, that's how you pronounce his name, Wei Zhong, fall from power? So how did the emperor fall from power? And this will kind of go about with your guys' phrases, your idioms for literature, right? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. So an emperor is a very big, powerful position. And we're going to learn how hard he fell, all right? So the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Hey, Chloe, glad you're here. All right, so let's start reading. Let's get focused. I'm glad you guys are all able to say hi. If you guys want to chat, I will offer some time for us to chat with one another at the end of this lesson, okay? So please keep all comments and questions focused on this lesson, and at the end we can chat about the weekend or whatever you guys want to talk about, okay? So let's get focused. The beginning is called the pancake prophecy. I wonder if they're talking about my Sundays. Every Sunday, pancakes, right? That's what we do in our house. The pancake prophecy. One day in the year 1125, a very strange thing happened to Emperor Huizong. Right here has the pronunciation guide right here. Huizong of the Sung dynasty. He came upon a poor fish peddler sitting in a doorway eating a pancake. All right, so we're coming here with the first vocabulary word. Actually, our first two. Almost skipped over that one. And let's think about these vocabulary words. All right. Prophecy and peddler. What is a prophecy and what is a peddler? Well, a prophecy is a prediction about the future. So maybe you've read stories or heard of people called prophets or people making prophecies about the future. These are predictions about the future. So we're learning about the pancake prediction of the future. What's the pancake prophecy? And then a peddler is a person who travels from one place to another selling goods. Hey guys, I know you're trying to say hi to one another, but let's focus on the lesson right now, okay? Like I said, we can talk amongst one another at the end of the lesson. I'm glad you guys are here. It really is awesome. But let's start getting focused, and then we can talk amongst each other, okay? So the peddler offered to share his humble food with the emperor. Have a bite, the peddler said to Wei Zhong. But Wei Zhong was disgusted by the very idea that he, the great emperor, would share a bite of such miserable food. He would not touch it. All right, so let's pay attention to this. This is the beginning of the pancake prophecy, which I will ask you about later, okay? So hopefully you're paying attention and we'll be able to answer this question. Hui Zhong's refusal hurt the peddler's feelings, and the peddler spoke a frightening prophecy. He said, "A day will come," he said to Wei Zhong, "when you will be glad to have even a pancake like this." So right there is the pancake prophecy. The emperor went on his way, but the fish peddler's words hung over him like a mysterious curse. Wei Zhong was rich and powerful beyond imagination. How could he be happy with just a pancake for a meal? What a ridiculous idea. So that is the pancake prophecy, all right? Okay, so nice. Chloe's looking for the core vocabulary. So our first question is, what was the pancake prophecy? Answer that in the chat. Those that are paying attention and following along, answer the question. Our first question, what was the pancake prophecy? And then after question 1, our second question will be, why do you think the peddler gave such a prophecy to Hui Zung? Can anybody answer that question? Remember, you can use the commands to remind yourself of the question and even ask for a hint. Nice. It looks like you're trying to say it was the prophecy. Adriana, can you repeat the question? I can repeat the question in Scotland, but you can also use the chat commands to bring up the question. But since you asked me to, I will repeat the question. The question is, what was the pancake prophecy? Nice. And it looked like Adriana's talking about, yeah, it was the prophecy. So the pancake prophecy was the prophecy that the peddler gave to Hui Zung. But what did the prophecy say? I know it's sometimes hard to be at home, guys, and doing school, but let's try to stay focused and try to interact with me and answering the questions. And doing so will help you learn this stuff, all right? This will help you learn about these great histories and these great things that we're going to study in our history class. So the pancake prophecy is this. The peddler said to Hui Zung, the emperor, "A day will come when you will be glad to have even a pancake like this." So that is the prophecy. There's going to be a day where the emperor is going to fall and that he will be happy to have a pancake. At first he was disgusted, but he's saying there will be a day that you will be glad to have a pancake. All right, so let's look at this painting as we continue on. In this painting, this is a silk painting. Emperor Hui Zung is shown drinking from a cup made of a precious stone. So right back here in the back is Hui Zung. And I think I can make this just a slightly bigger. There we go. All right. So Hui Zung decided to forget all about his meeting with the peddler. He called for his paints, his brushes, and some paper. All the Chinese emperors, Hui Zung stood out as one who loved art the most. Hui Zung filled his place with beautiful works of art. He collected 6,000 paintings. Wow, that's a lot of paintings to collect. He learned to paint and write poetry himself. Whenever the business of governing got too boring or too tiring, he sent his officials away so that he could paint a picture or write a poem. He developed new ways to paint birds and flowers and new styles of calligraphy. Hope you're paying attention because this stuff's going to be about one of our questions. He set up an academy of painting and artists from all over the country flocked to it. All right, so we've come up to our next vocabulary word. And again, it's not required, but it will help you learn and it will help me know that you're learning and paying attention if you can use one of these core vocabulary words in a sentence. All right, so try to go as we learn these core vocabulary words, pick out one and write it a sentence and put it in the chat. So our next core vocabulary word is academy, a distinguished place where scholars go to study. Alrighty, Um, yep, nice, Scotland. Way to. Yep. Thanks for trying to keep the chat focused. That means a lot. It's good. All right, so mountain water painting. The paintings during the Sung Dynasty, 960 to 1279, did not use oil paints, and they did not work on canvas. Instead, these artists used water-based paints on paper and silk. Paint spreads rapidly on those surfaces, so the brush strokes had to be done very quickly and lightly. There could be no hesitation whatsoever. To the Chinese, paintings of nature were the highest form of art. The artists loved to paint rugged scenes with mountains, waterfalls, and rivers. Indeed, the Chinese word for landscape means mountain water. The Chinese considered mountains sacred places where spirits lived. Vertical scrolls with mountain landscapes might reach as high as 7 feet. All right, before we continue on, our next question is, how did Huizong show that he was interested in art? So this is question 3. How did Huizong show that he was interested in art? There is no test after this chapter. There is the big question though. So make sure you're paying attention because there is a big question with for chapter 5. So that is a graded assignment. So question 3, how did Huizong show that he was interested in art? See if you guys can answer that. So Huizong filled his place with beautiful works of art. Remember, he collected 6,000 paintings. He also learned to paint and write calligraphy himself. We also learned that when being an emperor got too boring or too tiring, that he would let himself go and go by himself and paint birds and flowers and those things. That's how we know that he was interested in art. It was a big part of his life. All right, so let's continue to read. Make sure you're following along. We're going to start here at the very end of page 38. And we're going to go down to, page 39. And there will be question 4 after we read page 49, all right? Okay, small, round, or square paintings were sometimes made to cover a fan or to be placed in albums. Artists also loved to make panoramic rolls. Enormous paintings that were kept rolled up in a box. You would unroll the painting slowly as if following the artist in a journey across the vast landscape or scene. Huizong opened many painting schools and promoted art and artists within his court. The palace even had an artist on call all night long just in case the emperor wanted something painted in the middle of the night. That's pretty crazy. We usually think about wealthy people having butlers that will come help, at times of, need. If the emperor's feeling lazy, he can call upon his butler and be like, hey, bring me some water or bring me a snack. But Emperor Huizong had artists on call. He had artists at his palace all the time. And during the middle of the night, he would want paintings being painted sometimes. That's pretty wild. So let's look at this picture here on the right of page 39. This is artists in Song and Sung China became known for their landscape paintings. So this is a landscape picture or a panoramic picture, which is our next vocabulary word, panoramic rolls, giving a wide view of an area. So those that have smartphones or cameras, maybe you've taken panoramic shots before. Maybe of your room where you use your camera and take a picture right here, right here, right here, and right here, and you put them all together and it looks kind of like you're surrounded by that picture. Well, back in the Sung Dynasty, they had rolls. So they'd take the painting and roll it up, Like you can roll up a piece of paper, and let me go widescreen right here for you. So they'd roll up the painting, and they talked about as the artist would slowly unroll the painting, it'd be like going on a journey through the painting. And they would unroll these panoramic rolls of paintings. It's pretty cool, huh? So a sentence idea is, I've used my smartphone to take panoramic pictures of, I don't know, you could say like the park or something. Remember, let's try to write a sentence using our vocabulary words and put that in the chat. All right, so let's finish page 39 and this little bit of 40 and 41, and then your question 4, okay? I'll be asking question 4. So be ready. And if you want a hint of what question 4 is going to be, you can type in question 4 in the chat. All right, so we're going to learn about military problems. Some officials in Hui Zhong's palace thought he spent too much time with his paintings and not enough time worrying about China's military problems. Several foreign tribes had moved across the northern border and were fighting for control of northern China. Hui Zhong made a deal with one of the tribes, the Jurchen, to fight on China's side. Hui Zhong thought he had solved the problem and went back to his paintings. I'll just have Jurchen take care of it, right? That's what he's thinking. But the Jurchen defeated China's enemies. So after the Jurchen defeated China's enemies, they turned against the Chinese. And let's look at this picture of Chinese soldiers used to use crossbows to defend their capital city, but weren't able to stop the Jurchen from destroying it. So they used to use crossbows, and we talked about that earlier in this Dynasties book, right? That was one of our vocabulary words. So in 1126, the Jurchen attacked Hui Zhong's capital at Kaifeng. 48,000 soldiers defended Kaifeng with crossbows and flamethrowers, but the Jurchen had even more powerful weapons. They brought in siege machines, which is our next vocabulary word. So what is a siege machine? A type of weapon used to break, weaken, or destroy thick walls during a siege. So you might have seen what they call battery rams. Maybe those that have watched Lord of the Rings. I think it's the 3rd movie. The orcs are trying to break into that castle, and they have this huge piece of wood or whatever, and they're running it into the gate to break it down. Well, these siege machines is a type of weapon that was created to do that exact same thing, right? To break down, weaken, or destroy thick walls. So they brought in siege machines with movable towers that were so high they reached above the city walls. The attackers propelled firebombs over the walls into the city. So that is how the Jurchen took over the capital of Kaifeng. So our question, our 2 questions actually are, what new ideas and techniques for painting were developed during the Sung Dynasty? Or Mulan, great, yeah, that's right. My wife was just watching Mulan last night. That's a good, what is that word called? Good connection, right? Good job, Adriana. And then our question number 5 is, who were the Jurchen and what effect did they have on Chinese history? So see if you can answer question 4 and 5, all right? Remember, you can type the questions in the chat. And then, see if you can answer question 4 and 5 in the chat, all right? Come on, come on, come on. Can someone answer question 4 or 5? Is there anybody out there? Anybody listening? Come on, guys. I know it's kind of hard sometimes to stay focused. If you need hints, you can type in the commands, right? In the top right hand corner shows you an example of a command. So you can type in !hint 4 or !hint 5. Let's try to get some interaction, guys. You guys are here, so let's learn, all right? That's really close, Chloe. Yep. So you just put a pew. Yep. You just, I don't know why it's getting so. Yep. Question 4 or question 5. There you go. Scotland's got it. For question 4, there's your hint. So see if you can fill in the blanks, Scotland. And then Chloe's looking for the question 4. Awesome, Chloe. I appreciate it. That's really good. Gold stars for Scotland and Chloe. So, painters began to use what kind of paints rather than oil, right? There's hint 3. Glad you guys are figuring it out though. He opened many painting schools and promoted art and artists. Yeah, he did. That is right. But what new techniques, right, were developed during the Sung Dynasty, right? So hint number 4. That's right. See if you can fill in the blanks. Painters used what kind of paints, and they painted on what instead of canvas? Painters of the Sung Dynasty often painted what? Remember, think about my paper. What did I do with that paper, and what did they do? He did open that, but that's not the answer to question 4. That's a good point. He definitely did do that. That's good. But what is question 4? Painters used what? Come on, come on, come on. What kind of paints did they use? Think about your art class or things that maybe you paint around the house. What kind of paint is that? It's not oil paints. A right? I don't know what a right is, Josh. I'm glad you guys are trying though. This is awesome. Josh and Caden trying. I love it. All right. He made art paint? Yes, he did. He was very into art. He loved to draw. He loved to paint himself. So Scotland said they opened the art paper slowly like they are on a scavenger hunt. Yeah, kind of close. They opened the paint slowly to be like on an adventure, right? So if we scroll up here, imagine this painting right here on the right being opened really slowly. So you start to see the top of the mountains right here, the top of these cliffs. And then you travel down the cliffs as it opens up. And then it brings a tree. So it's like an adventure. But that's still not the answer. All right, so I'll help you guys out. For question 4, remember you got to put question 4 in the chat. Maybe you guys can't remember what question 4 is, right? See if it pulls up right here. What new ideas and techniques for painting were developed during the Sung Dynasty? So that's the question, and we can scroll up and see the hint that Chloe and Scotland had. Oh, you guys might be looking at question 3, the hint that Adriana. Maybe that's why you guys are confused. Adriana put the hint for question 3. But I was asking for question 4 and 5. That's where we're on right now. We're on question 4 and 5. So painters began to use water-based paints. They used water-based paints instead of oil. And they painted on silk and paper instead of canvas. And the painters of the Sung Dynasty often painted, what kind of paintings are these? Landscape paintings. All right, so, and they're on these big long scrolls. Landscape paintings. All right, and then question 5. Let's move on to question 5. Question 5 is, who were the Jurchen? He used water to make paint. Yep, just said that. Perfect. Good job, Scotland. At least you're listening. I know I just said it, but you're listening. That's good. So question 5. We're on question 5 right now. Who were the Jurchen, and what effect did they have on Chinese history? All right. Good job, Josh, putting the question in the chat. I love it. Yep, who were the Jurchen, and what effect did they have on Chinese history? And you can use hint, exclamation point, hint 5 to help you guys out. But I know some of you were paying attention, right, and could answer the question. Nice. Scotland's asking for a little help. That's good. Yep. So they were a tribe of what? I was like, Adriana's getting for the same hint. They had a siege machine. Yep, that's good. Chloe. Yep, that's right. That's how they took the capital city of Kaifeng, right? So look at that hint right there and try to fill in the blanks. So they were a tribe of foreigners. Remember, we learned about foreigners previously in this book. That was one of our key vocabulary words. Those that are paying attention will remember. So they were right here. Several foreign tribes. They were foreigners. So they were a tribe of foreigners to the north of China. They helped Chinese defeat other tribes and the enemies of China, right? They defeated China's enemies. But after that, they turned against the Chinese, right? They captured the capital city of Kaifeng and overthrew who? Who did they overthrow? Yeah, they were foreigners. That's right, Scotland. Not formers, foreigners. Yeah. So here's the word foreign, and you just put ERS at the end of this. One of our key vocabulary words from previous chapter. Foreigners. They overthrew Huizhong. They took the capital city and overthrew the emperor Huizhong. All right, you guys are doing good. I'm glad you guys are interacting. Thank you for using the chat commands and getting the questions that pop up and the hints. Thank you for trying to answer the questions. And those that are, some of you guys are even answering the questions, which is awesome. That is great. I really appreciate it. So we're almost done. Probably just a couple more minutes. We will have one more question for you to answer, and then we will also refresh your memory about the big question to help you get ready to answer the big question discussion post. All right. So in preparation for our last few paragraphs, our question 6 is, how did the peddler's prediction about Huizhong come true? So we're about to learn the answer to that question. Okay, so stay focused and be prepared to answer question number 6. So let's start reading right here. Make sure you're following along with your own book or on the screen. The siege of Kaifeng lasted for more than a month. The Jurchen destroyed the city and captured Huizhong. They took off his fine clothes and made him put on a servant's robes. Then the captors made fun of him by calling him the Duke of Confused Virtues. Virtue? What is virtue? we have our core virtues, right? In a Hojo Academy, we have 8 of them. So the 8 virtues that we have for like Hojo Academy, and then also our key vocabulary word is a high moral standard. And so we ourselves, members of Hojo Academy, I should have brought that up earlier. One of our key words is academy, right? And we're a part of Hojo Academy. How did we all miss that? I missed that and you guys missed that. Hojo Academy, right? We go to school in a distinguished place where we as scholars go to study and learn, right? We are a part of a highly distinguished place where we are learning and studying. We are part of an academy. So we at Hojo Academy have virtues. And the Jurchen called Huizhong the Duke of Confused Virtues. So someone that was confused of high moral standards. And he was a little confused, right? He was more focused on painting and art than governing his empire to be successful and to prosper. Yeah, that is one of our core vocabulary words is responsibility. Yeah, Josh, it is cool that we're part of an academy, right? We are a part of a very special place, right? And we hold ourselves and we hold each other to these high moral standards, right? We are supposed to be responsible and disciplined and have courage, right? There's more of those, right? Each week I put a core virtue on our homework page. I hope you guys are paying attention to that and learning that. Okay, so the captors, the Jurchen, called Huizhong the Duke of Confused Virtues, and a virtue is a high moral standard. The Jurchens sent Huizhong to the far northeast as their prisoner. The peddler's curse had come true. The emperor's power and wealth had vanished like smoke. He had no pride left. How Huizhong yearned to see a simple Chinese pancake again. Oh, how you'd wish to have a pancake. After 9 hard years, Huizhong died, still a prisoner of Jurchen. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, right? The Jurchen thought they had captured all of Huizhong's family, but one of his sons escaped from them. He fled to the south, set up his own capital of Hangzhou, and proclaimed himself emperor. He made a deal with the Jurchen. The invaders would control all of northern China, the area that had been the center of the previous dynasties, while the Sung would be left with the south. It was humiliating for the glorious Sung dynasty, known as the Southern Sung dynasty, but the new emperor had no choice. All right. Can you answer question number 6? How did the peddler's prediction about Huizhong come true? How did the pancake prophecy come true? Huh? Can you answer that question? And then after you guys answer that question, we'll close out by bringing up the big question, all right, and getting you guys ready to answer that discussion post. So Caden, do hint, exclamation point, hint 6. We're on question 6. So we already covered question 4. So do exclamation point, hint 6. All one word, just like you're doing, but switch the 4 for the 6. See if we can answer that. Can we answer question 6? That's question 5. Close. Exclamation point, hint 6. Let's go. Can someone answer it? I want one of you guys to answer it. Come on, let's go. There we go, Scotland. Awesome. Well done. So here's your hint. Now see if you could answer it. It's about to pop up. Here you go. How did the peddler's prediction about Huizhong come true? See if you can fill in the blank. Blanks, right? There's 4 blanks. Nice. Josh is bringing up the question. Water paints. Yep, that's a good question. That's a good answer, Caden, for question 4, but we're on question 6. I'm really glad that you tried to do question 4, but let's focus on question 6. And then right there, Josh brought up question 6. So right there it shows, how did the peddler's prediction about Hui Zung come true? And then up above those lines, there is the hint. After Jurchen turned against China, they destroyed what and captured who? The emperor was blank, with no wealth or pride left. Water with paints. Yeah, again, guys, we're talking about question 6, but you guys are referencing question 4. Josh just had the question 6 come in the chat right above Scotland's chat. How did the peddler's prediction about Hui Zun come true? All right. After Jurchen turned against China, they destroyed Kaifeng, right? The capital city. And they captured Hui Zung, the emperor, right? The emperor was a prisoner with no wealth or pride left. As the peddler predicted, Hui would be glad to eat a pancake. So Hui Zung was captured and became a prisoner. His empire fell, and he was a prisoner. And as a prisoner, he probably didn't have very good food, and so he would have been pleased and super happy to have at least a pancake. So that's how it came true. That's right, Scotland. They captured Hui Zung. Good. You guys are getting better. I know it's probably a little, it's new using these chat commands to ask questions and answer them. Good job, Caden. You're still talking about question 4, and we're supposed to be focusing on question 6, but you're doing it. That's good. All right, let's bring up the big question before we end. Get you guys ready? You can type the big question in the chat, and it is also right here on the page. So this is what you need to answer, right? I will post it after this video. We will have the big question discussion post, and it is, how did Emperor Hui Zung fall from power? Okay, so that's the big question. Thank you so much for coming in. I hope you enjoy learning about Hui Zung and the Sung Dynasty, the cool art that they created, and be able to learn. I hope you learned how Hui Zung fell from power, so you're ready for the answer to the big question. If you can't think of it, just come back to this book. Remember, it's on our history homepage. You can click on it and bring it up online and read through chapter 5 again to be able to be more comfortable of answering the question. Well, that is it today, guys. I'm so glad that you guys came and participated. It was awesome to be with you. Have a great weekend. I would offer some more time for you guys to talk, but I do have a math lesson that I'm doing in 1 minute. All right. We were a little slow answering questions, which is okay. We're learning how to do this, online learning, and how to type in the chat. So it's not your fault. It's just something that we have to learn. Okay. But I do have to go. A student is waiting for me. So I know I talked about time to chat amongst yourselves, but we'll have to do that next time. So have a great weekend. You guys are awesome. Keep up the work. Again, make sure you get caught up with math and literacy. Those are your 2 focuses, okay? Get caught up with those, and then get caught up with everything else. But focus on those first. We only have 2 more weeks left of this quarter, and then we are done. So we are done for today. Have a great weekend. Get caught up. You guys are awesome, and I will see you guys next time.